What's up, comic book fans? Pete here from Comic Books Transformed, where me and my good friend over there, Brian, talk about comics that have been adapted into streaming shows and movies. So, Brian and I were just talking about how Godzilla got shrunk down to human size at one point in Marvel Comics. Star Wars was also a Marvel comic. You knew that one, though, right, Brian?
Yes. Well, it's currently a Marvel comic, but it was previously as well. Oh, wait. No, was it?
It was like Marvel owned it, then it went to Dark Horse for a real long time, and now it's back at Marvel.
Yes. Okay. I'm not crazy then.
No, you're not crazy. And so that's my way to segue into what we're talking about today, the Acolyte episode 5, which, Brian, wouldn't you say it was kind of a change of pace for this show?
Yeah, because I really, really liked it.
Oh, what? Whoa!
I feel it's weird because I feel like, although we were fairly forgiving in our last review, I do feel like we definitely got into that kind of a little bit of that bashing territory.
Oh yeah,
and I especially was very angry at how the episode ended. I hate when they cut like mid action, I guess.
Yes,
I know. Obviously, cliffhangers are a thing, and they do that in everything, and it just felt very odd. But I guess I'm almost glad they did it now because like this episode was basically one long action scene.
Yes,
and it was a really good one.
Yes, but let me ask you this though: when this episode started and Osha is on the ground, like knocked out, and she wakes up and there's like, no one around. Weren't you kind of worried for a second that like the whole battle was done and we weren't going to see any fighting?
Yes, very.
Yeah.
Gotta see that budget somewhere, but apparently they didn't, and they spent it all on this.
Yeah. Man, so this episode, like you just said, is just like this long extended battle between I called him the Shape in the notes, but then eventually we go on to call him a Sith. But it's I won't spoil it yet. But it's essentially the Sith versus a bunch of Jedi, and it's a lot of incidents where people kind of get like knocked down or knocked out, and a character runs away. Then like they start fighting again. Somebody dies, and then like the character runs away. So, did that bother you?
At first it did because it's like, oh, they're gonna kill all the unnamed characters, and all the named characters are gonna be fine because they have plot armor. And It seemed like that for a good 15, 20 minutes.
Yes.
But I will say this, the visuals were kind of cool though. When Osha does wake up, the first thing she sees is a bunch of like lightsabers off in the distance, and there's a whole bunch going, and it actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
In the distance in the jungle there, and then you just see the Sith guy just cutting people down.
Yep.
I think I texted you pretty early on when I was watching it because I just really liked one of the moves he used. I guess he basically impaled some guy, and then he uses the Force to pull someone else on the end of this, the saber like a shish kebab.
Yeah,
I thought that was a really cool little idea there.
Yes, I love that moment. I was just about to bring it up, and like I've seen on social media a lot of people saying that this is the best lightsaber choreography since the prequels. Some people say it's the best one since Duel of Fates. But then, I think there's good stuff in all three of the prequels as far as just literal choreography. But I think that like Revenge of the Sith has some good lightsaber stuff too. Is there sort of like for you peak lightsaber battle in Star Wars?
I mean, it's probably Duel of Fates, honestly, but that's more so for the additional emotional impact of it in addition to the fight itself. Because like, that was the first like really crazy lightsaber battle that we saw with advanced technology, Prior to that, it was, I mean, it looks great for the time and all, but, it's a lot slower when you watch those old movies,
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny, though, because I don't think that the sequels are without great sequences. I don't really like any of the stuff that's in The Rise of Skywalker, but I think that scene with like Rey and Kylo Ren in that throne room, I think that's really great.
Oh, from The Last Jedi. Yeah, that's a great one too. Yeah.
Right. And I think that like the Rey Kylo Ren scene in Force Awakens is good too.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think too. Maybe I'm also spoiled by the video games and stuff.
Oh yeah.
That's where kind of really first got to, for me anyway, to really get to like mess around with lightsabers and see what like kind of feel like the power fantasy of it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, dude, you kind of just opened up a segue for me right there. In Fallen Order, which is a game I know that you've played. I think your wife really likes it, right?
Yes.
Too.
Yeah.
Do they have that Cortosis armor in that game?
I don't think so. No. Well, I mean, the first one, no. The second one I haven't finished yet.
Okay.
It's my gigantic backlog of games.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this was kind of a new thing to me. I didn't know what was going on. I did have to look it up afterwards. Thank you for putting in the notes because I had something to look about.
Yeah. Well, I looked it up too, and it looks like there's a lot of it in the expanded universe, right? Like
Yes.
the older canon, and it looks like it's in the Knights of the Old Republic game too.
Yes, but I don't remember it from that because I played those games. Oh God, 20 years plus ago.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, Phantom Menace is like what, 25 years ago at this point too.
Yeah.
We're pretty fucking old. Yeah. So we can kind of talk about like the individual battles as we're going through the review of this episode. But yeah, the choreography was very exciting. You know, it was action packed. It didn't seem dull. What I would say though is that, like, you know, my one daughter Clementine has only seen A New Hope now, and she's seen Empire Strikes Back almost. Like she's seen like the most of the end, and then we're kind of catching up to the beginning, right?
Yep.
And when it comes to Star Wars, I sometimes cut my wife off from my other daughter, where I'm like, oh, don't say that because I don't want that to be spoiled because I want her to experience Star Wars, right?
Yep.
But then with this, it's like I don't think I would care if this was spoiled at all for my kids, but I might show them this battle just so I thought it was cool. Do you feel similar, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think with my son, he there was a big stretch. I mean, he's seen a couple of he saw a few of the sequels, and right now he's actually been watching the prequels.
Okay,
going through it chronologically.
Yeah,
but he wasn't into it for a while, and then he suddenly was again. So I think I would show it to him to see if he'd be interested in watching the show or not.
Yeah.
It might honestly be interesting to see a kid's point of view that has a lot less bias, I guess.
Right.
He had a very funny review of Attack of the Clones. He did not like it.
Yeah.
So
I don't blame him. It's like one of my least favorite of the like two sets that were around for so long.
Yeah.
But you know, with this episode, like you said, it's like this big long battle, but we do get some revelations. We get that Cormier was the Sith.
Yeah, and you know, I think I said last week that I just couldn't shake him being Jason Mendoza from The Good Place, and it would be hard for me to swallow for him being this like badass Sith dude, especially after all these moves he's pulling off here. But it worked. It kind of worked. He did a incredible job of like seeming menacing and you know almost demonic. Honestly, it's psychotic.
Yes.
So fantastic job there. Like seriously,
1,000% agree with you. There was all that speculation of like, was it going to be one of Osha and May's mothers? Like they thought that maybe it was the mother with the horns, right? Or was it the woman that was in charge of the coven? But then all of a sudden you see these like big burly, arms that are exposed, right? And you're like, okay, well, I think it's a guy, right? Yep. And when the mask finally came off, it's funny because it's kind of like a 1-2 punch, right? Because his mask gets knocked off by Jackie. And so you're like, oh, okay, here comes the reveal. But before you even get to that reveal, he does, hold on, I jumped ahead with my fucking tickers. He has one lightsaber, and then he's able to make it become two. And then he fucking goes and like 3 hole punches Jackie.
Yeah. That was very surprising. So I don't know if this was sometimes I don't like shock deaths out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But sometimes they serve a really good purpose. We got 2 like that I was not expecting.
Yes.
Honestly. So but Jackie definitely holds her own beforehand.
Yes.
I believe she grabs Kalnaka's lightsaber. She's dual wielding as well, and that was excellent choreographed fight scene there.
Yeah. When there were the tweets where people were like, "This is the best Star Wars choreography or lightsaber choreography since the prequels," that was the clip. It was her with the 2 lightsabers, and then him kind of blocking it. And one other thing that I should have mentioned when we had the Cortosis armor ticker up was that armor has a really cool effect to it, to where like it can cancel out a lightsaber temporarily, and he fucking like headbutts a lightsaber at one point and shuts it off with his helmet. I thought that was so fucking cool.
Yeah, that was a pretty good effective use of that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I have to say that, like, I mean, how much of the cast did they kill off in this one episode? They killed off like, I don't know, like 20% of the cast, the main cast.
Yeah, to the point where I'm like, who's going to be in the next 3 episodes? 3 episodes?
We're on 5, so there's 6, 7, 8. Yeah.
Like, who's going to be left? We have the little beaver guy, we have Soul, and then May and Osha, and that's it.
It'd be amazing if little beaver guy becomes the main focus of the show.
Yeah.
It's like him. Yeah. Believe me, the way the episode ends off, I'm like, oh, okay. So someone posted, God, it sounds like all I do is go on Twitter, but it's true. Is that like someone posted like a chart, and it looked kind of like almost like an EKG beater where it's like highs and lows, right? And they were like, that's how I feel about this episode of The Acolyte. And it's like, oh, we're back. No, we're not. Oh, we're back. And so like this episode had some really great moments, especially kind of where we're at right now, what we're discussing. But then the end, I was like, oh, I don't know about the rest of this. Before we get to that, though, let's talk about the other surprise death.
Yeah, and Yord seemed like he was going to go away, get away, because he was tasked with bringing Osha back to the ship.
Yeah.
But they essentially decided to turn back, and he does. He saves someone temporarily. I guess it was it May?
Saul.
Was it Saul? I don't remember. He saved somebody temporarily, came to the rescue. But not for long.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of my main problem that I have with this episode, is that there's multiple moments where it's like, okay, the Sith's going to kill this person, but then someone else runs in, or like someone sticks their lightsaber in, and that happens. Like Saul gets saved, Osha gets saved, May, I think, gets saved at one point too. May is the one that Cormier's holding the lightsaber to like this, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. See, I love that too. You almost never see that. Like in The Last Jedi, I had that one moment where like Rey passes the lightsaber to Kylo Ren, and he turns it on and it goes into the guy's head.
Yep.
But like you almost never have like a lightsaber like up against someone's head like a gun. I actually really like that.
Interesting visual, yeah.
Yeah. So but yeah, they just snap his freaking neck.
Yeah, and like I said before, I usually like when they kind of give these characters like like some kind of heroic sacrifice, death, or something like that. But no, they're just almost casually thrown out there to die, and that's interesting. Yeah,
well, because you said this already, but it's like you really do get that feeling of like, okay, they killed these people. It's obviously it's like all these like red shirt people that we don't know, and it's like, oh, conveniently these characters that we know a little bit about, they're getting away, but then they come back in and he takes them all out. So I have to say, I mean, maybe at the end of this recording, we can kind of rank the episodes, give them ratings out of 10, because I'd like to see where you, out of a scale of 10, where you'd rate this episode. But let's talk about when it's sort of like the battle comes to an end, right? So we have Osha, and finally you have Saul squaring off against Cormier. And Saul is like, he has his lightsaber ready to go get Cormier, but for some reason Cormier doesn't have his lightsaber, right?
Yeah, what happened there?
Because he says that thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe he just. I think he just like kind of wore him out a little bit, and I think he might have just dropped the lightsaber.
Yeah, because he does make this really great point where he's like, a Jedi doesn't strike an unarmed opponent. And then Saul does turn down the lightsaber. But then, May has this moment. I'm sorry, Osha has this moment where she like takes that part of her droid and puts it on him. And then those moths come back and pick him up. What'd you think of that?
It was creative use of something. It kind of gave her a purpose in the battle, I suppose. Clearly she's not trained to fight, which I'm glad they didn't have her do something like that.
Yeah.
It was essentially just stalling Quamir, and if that even is his name, if that was an alias or not, who knows?
Right.
And that sets us up for the old switcheroo.
Yes. Oh God. Yes. We'll get to that in 1 second. Before we talk about that, though, was there a split second when she was holding that piece of the droid, that light piece, where she was holding it like this? Did you think that it was gonna become a lightsaber?
I didn't. I did kind of assume she was going to do something with that light. So
Yeah.
I didn't. There was no way it was going to be a lightsaber, and she like seemed to like say goodbye to it. So
yeah,
I figured like a grenade or something with light was going to happen.
Yeah. So is that just a piece of the droid, or is it like essentially that's killing the droid?
I think she just ripped off its head.
Wouldn't that be fucking awesome if like Luke was fighting Darth Vader and he ripped off R2's head and like threw it with the Force like a like a destructo disc, That'd be fucking great.
Holy shit.
That is awesome. All right, so you brought it up, man. You already brought up the switcheroo. The old using a lightsaber to give yourself a matching haircut to your twin trick. What did you think of that?
Yeah. So I know from experience when trying to fake a fever as a child that, you can burn your hair really easily.
Yeah. Wait, what the fuck? What did you put on your head?
I had one of those thermometers that like you put on your head. It was like a thermo strip sort of.
Okay.
And I was holding my head over the stove, trying to heat it up so I could fake sick so I didn't have to go to school. I was probably in like the 2nd or 3rd grade, something stupid like that. I singed a little bit of the tip of my hair at that time.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm an idiot. I've done a lot of stupid things as a child.
Yeah, but dude, don't fault yourself. You didn't have the Force, Sure. With the Force, you could use a lightsaber and accurately cut your hair to look like someone else's hair.
Exactly. One swipe.
Yeah, because she did that, and it's so quick. I'm like, what the fuck did she just do? And then I'm like, oh God, she's gonna switch places with her sister.
Yeah.
So the thumbnail I have for this is. Wait, hold on a sec. I'm at my mom's apartment. Did you watch that whole episode of House of the Dragon? The second one? Mom?
Yes.
Okay. What a fucking loser. I'm like, hey Mom, we're gonna meatloaf tonight. Did you watch that?
Mom, meatloaf!
Right. But the reason why I'm bringing that up is for our thumbnail for this episode, I put Alien Covenant, House of the Dragon, and now the Acolyte have something in common. Do you know what that is, Brian?
No.
Okay, so Alien Covenant, that's the one, the most recent one. Do you remember it has like what's the fucking guy from Eastbound and Down, that guy?
Oh God, yeah, he's got like the mullet sort of haircut.
Yeah. Old white guys not remembering stuff. That's what we're doing. Like, you remember that guy? He's from that show. Anyway, no, it's the one where there's like 2 fucking Michael Fassbenders. Do you ever see that one?
Yeah. I've definitely seen it.
Yeah, where they're playing the flute together. He's like, "I'll do the fingering." Remember that one?
Yes.
All right. Anyway, look, check it out. So there's Walter, and then there's David, right? In that one, they do the old switcheroo where Walter takes David takes Walter's place.
That's true. Yes.
Then in Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, they just did the 2 twin brothers where the one twin goes to take the other brother's place.
Eric impersonated Eric. Yeah.
Yeah, spoilers for that guy. Sorry. And then on this fucking show, you got this little switcheroo now too.
Yes. And 2 of them so close together.
Yeah, right. It was weird seeing them in the same week. But don't you feel like it's just so fucking ridiculous that it's like a Sith person that is like training this one girl, and then a Jedi Master who's like this experienced Jedi. They can't tell the difference between a person using the Force.
Yeah, I imagine they would give off some kind of different energy or aura or something like that. Maybe you can. I mean, I'm sure. I know that Quamir knows. He definitely knows that's Osha. I'm pretty sure.
Why do you say that?
I don't know. I guess that's the vibe I got. I guess I don't really have a fact to back it up.
Yeah,
the gut. But clearly Saul doesn't because I don't think you would have brought just May back.
Right. Um, like, okay, I truly hope that you are right with Osha and Cormier. Okay, but one of the things that came up in that sequence where she's on the ground, the sister has taken off her clothes and like left her on the ground, and then she's wearing her clothes to leave. People were saying that that was not Kylo Ren's theme that was playing when he did that, but you heard it. You heard it.
I didn't notice it, but I read about somebody else pointing it out. So this is also news to me that wasn't it. So
Well, okay, so no, but people are saying there's a lot of speculation going on. But then on Twitter, this is like eighth Twitter reference tonight. They showed the clip when Kylo Ren first lands in Force Awakens, and then they showed that scene from last night, and it is the same music because he's got that dun, 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 right. And
okay.
in this they play, but it's much more like soft and stuff. So I mean, going back to like talking about Marvel and Star Wars comics, in the more recent Star Wars comics, they have Knights of Ren people around in the time of Luke and stuff. And there's one guy that is the leader, and he's got these exposed arms, just like the Sith too.
And I believe he uses that metal as well.
Yeah. So I mean, let's do some fantasy booking here, right? That's what it's called, right? Fantasy booking.
Yes.
Okay. How can they make this about the Knights of Ren?
That's a great question. I don't know. I'm more so trying to think of how does this connect to May and Osha? Like how does this wrap up? Why do they matter in here? What does Camille want with them? I mean, obviously he wants a follower. He wants an acolyte, as he said.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want to follow the Jedi's rules, but why? And what does it have to do with them?
Yeah.
And then the whole the idea that they were conceived with the Force has to play in somehow. They can't just do that as a throwaway and then not address it. So that has to play into it somehow too. We all kind of were thinking that Darth Plagueis was involved initially. I guess I'm less. I think that's less likely now. A lot less likely.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are going to take some angle with the Knights of Ren here.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how. I can't think of any way how it could tie together.
Okay. Well, some of the speculation I've heard, I think this is from Eckhart's Ladder and stuff, because he was talking about the Knights of Ren, was that he feels like Cormier is not part of that chain of like it's always a master and apprentice. He feels like he's some other Force user, and that by the end of this season, Cormier's going to encounter like the true Sith, and they're just going to squash him like a bug, basically. Do you think there's any validity to that?
I do agree that I don't think he's part of that the only two Sith dynamic thing. I think he is something separate.
Yeah.
Although he does mention the Sith word. And a lot of people were talking about who was it? Is it Kia Di Mundi?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was last week. That was the big scandal, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Something about like one of his lines in Attack of the Clones was that they haven't encountered a Sith in millennia or centuries or something like that, and this would be a little. And if he was around and he knew about this, why isn't it mentioned? It's kind of like a plot hole potentially. So that's people's reasoning for him not being a Sith is it breaks continuity potentially.
Actually, that was in Phantom Menace when he said
was it Phantom Menace? Okay.
Yeah. What were you gonna say? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
That was it. That was the end of the thought anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this episode, I think one of the main things that you take away from this episode is like the reason why they don't mention the Sith again is because just everyone fucking gets killed. Like every person besides Saul and Osha gets killed.
Maybe Saul dies as well then.
I'm pretty sure that Saul will die by the end of this show. What do you think?
Yeah, but who is going to live then?
Well, okay. Go ahead.
It's obviously going to be probably May or Osha, potentially. Probably not both, though. I don't think.
It's interesting, right? Because, okay, one of the points I wanted to say before I started taking notes a couple days ago was like the way that Star Wars used to be was there were 3 amazing movies, 3 prequels that, like, you know, they're not so great, but then there's all this ancillary media that would make those movies better, right? And now I feel like Star Wars now is just that ancillary media. Like there isn't the other stuff. What do you think about that point?
Well, until we don't know what the next big movie style thing is going to be. I mean, maybe it even is the Mandalorian movie if that's still a thing.
Yeah.
You know, we don't really know what it's going to be, but it could be something else, probably removed from the Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
But then again, also, are they making another movie with Rey too?
I think that's supposed to even be a trilogy. But like for me, what's interesting is if you can take stuff now and make the prequels more interesting still, but then also start to like repair the damage done with Rise of Skywalker. Because I think Rise of Skywalker is this horrible ending to 3 trilogies. And I think the sequel trilogy, the more I look back on it, I'm like, oh yeah, there are some rough patches with that. But if they were to take this, and if you could like spin off the Knights of Ren from this, or if you were to even take the idea, because I think I've heard before the idea of like Osha and May being dyads, like a Force dyad. Do you remember that concept being said in Rise of Skywalker?
No.
Because the idea is that Kylo Ren and Rey, or, you know, Ben Solo and Rey are dyads.
So it's like an opposite?
Kind of like opposites, but they're like connected. That's why they have like all those scenes where they kind of bond with each other across space and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, because obviously with this, you already have a lot of prequel stuff. And one of the main prequel things you get is that the twins were conceived using the Force, right? And that's very Anakin, like you said a lot last week. If they can kind of like tie this all together to where it kind of like ties in stuff that's in Rise of Skywalker and like the Knights of Ren, that stuff into this, then I think it'll make it more worthwhile.
It's interesting though, because we all thought it was going to tie into more prequel stuff and the Darth Plagueis stuff, and then we thought this was going to be kind of like the origin of how he figured out how to use the Force to create life.
Yeah,
and then that was going to eventually lead to Anakin. But it's weird that they would take a route for something in the sequels, which happens so much later. But it seems like that's what's going on here. I still also think that we have to get another viewpoint in the past when May and Osha were children and the fire. They mentioned it again in this episode. That has to get cleared up. I think that we're also going to see those 4 Jedi again in the past.
Yeah.
But still, how Quamir ties in with this? Why May? What is exceptional about them other than how they're created? May and Osha. What is the exceptional thing that Quamir wants out of this, or someone else wants, or what happens to them from this? It would be a little odd if they're just created and they're just like nothing or nobodies. I feel like it has to lead to something, I guess.
Yeah, really, really good point. And that reminds me too, there's a moment in this episode when Saul and Quamir are like facing off against each other, and it feels like Quamir knows Saul personally, right? And he's kind of like alluding to Saul doing something bad in the past. Did you get that vibe too?
Well, the thing is, yes, it feels like that, but then you remember that in the second episode they all met in that shop. So I think they made us be referencing that. Same with Yor. He recognizes him too. So I think that is probably just it. Although the way they speak it, it makes you feel like it's supposed to be something more than that.
Right. Okay, god damn it. They all met him in that fucking shop.
Yeah.
That sucks because like I was starting to think that Quamir was somehow connected to that coven and that like he knew the truth of what happened in that coven or something. You know what I'm saying?
But I mean, isn't a prerequisite of the coven to be a lesbian?
Yeah, I think so. I know. I mean, maybe, yeah, because they don't have any kids besides those 2 kids. I think they even
Disney went extra woke. Quamir was a space witch lesbian, and he gave himself gender reassignment with the Force.
Oh my God, that's it, man.
That's gonna break. That's gonna break the fandom.
Thanks, Kathleen Kennedy. Jesus Christ, how am I supposed to
I
raise
have
my
to
children on Star Wars?
I have to qualify here that I'm making this up in jest here. If that actually did happen, I don't have a problem with it. I'm
Yes,
just making fun of people that would.
yes, but you know what? I would, and this happens with all these discussions with these sort of subpar shows. Is like I would even be cool with the the mom because they don't show the mom with the horns, her body, right? I'd be cool with like her raising Quamir or like interacting with Quamir and like kind of going against the Jedi. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I could see that. Somebody probably survived there. I'm still not convinced that there's not some kind of like illusion at play here.
Yeah.
But then again, like clearly the Jedi did something wrong there, or think they did something wrong. It's just a matter of when they're going to show that and find out. We'll find out if it's the next episode or maybe 7.
Okay. Yeah, and you know what's funny is that like I've been watching this really excellent Red Letter Media review of the first 4 episodes. You guys should go check that out too because I think it was really good video. It really expresses some points I have trouble expressing on here. But like Rich and Mike explained that there's this one part where like it sounds like all the mothers kind of gasp at once. Do you remember that in that episode? Like before the fire, like right when the fire's happening.
All the mothers gasp at once.
Or the space lesbians all kind of go,
yeah.
No.
That wasn't when they were doing the chanting, was it?
No, not the power of one, the power of many. No.
Huh. No, I don't remember.
Yeah, they actually played the clip too. It's like right when Osha and May are kind of fighting with each other and the fire's starting to spread, you kind of hear a bunch of them go like, oh, and so it's like the idea of like them all getting taken out in one fell swoop.
Okay.
So there's something interesting there. It could be like maybe a Jedi fucking like leaked some kind of thing that killed them all. Maybe like a Sith is there and they killed them all and the Jedi kind of take the rap for it, you know?
Or maybe it actually was some interaction between May and Osha that unknowingly killed them all.
That would actually be that'd be pretty fucking cool. If like that's how powerful they are. Going back to this point that you keep making about like, well, they have to have some kind of importance.
Yeah.
That would be cool if like their power, like when used together, can do things. That would actually be really cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
They're the Wonder Twins of Star Wars.
But see, I actually would get excited by that because like then it would make it seem like it's something bigger. And there's still 3 episodes left. They could do some kind of thing like that.
Yeah, they could.
Because like, what the fuck are they really supposed to do for 3 more episodes?
Well, I'm figuring we're gonna have another full flashback episode, and then whatever happens next episode, and then I guess the 8th episode we wrap everything up. But yeah, we'll have to just wait and see. But I'm definitely kind of revitalized watching the show now.
Hell yeah, same here, man. Did you know that the actress that plays Vernestra Rowe on the show is married to Leslie Headland?
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I just found that out. I think she was on that Russian doll show too that you said that you liked.
Oh, okay. I mean, I remember liking it at the time, but I don't remember too much about it other than the basic concept of it. So,
did you remember there was like a bald green woman on the show too?
No, I think it's something I will remember, but
Nice. All right. Well, with that being said, Brian and I actually did like this episode of The Acolyte. Who knows what's going to happen in the next 3, but we hope that you guys come back and join us for that discussion. We're going to go talk about The Boys now, episode 5 of season 4. So we love y'all, and we will see you guys next time.